हाँ बैंगलोर बाहर है जान पड़ेगा।
हाँ बस हो गया, अभी सब करके रेडी बैठे हैं। किशन नहीं आया है अभी तक। आगे किशन सर आ
ज्वाइन होगा। गुड मॉर्निंग सर।
गुड मॉर्निंग किशन।
Listen, your mic is off.
Why is your mic dead?
So I said we'll keep a fine if you call me sir. Sorry, you call me Kishan. Okay.
Yes, Kishan. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Omkar. Good morning, Mahesh.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle. Right. So yeah, I'm sorry for the delay. So we'll start right away. I think yesterday was a nice session. I think glad that Mahesh and Atul were able to contribute so much for yesterday's session. It was really great. So. So today also we'll have a very interactive session. Hopefully, the only thing the issue in today's session would be, I think most of you will not be aware of the liquid biofuels. I'm sure Atul will be. I'm not sure. Mahesh, have you had any exposure to liquid biofuels like biodiesel, bioethanol,
No.
plastic-based oil?
Nothing,
huh? Right.
So
Atul said he has been involved right from Jatropha cultivation, so I'm sure he will be able to throw some light on biodiesel also. Atul, you are exposed to bioethanol, plastic-based oil, tire-based oil. Have you had some exposure? I'm sure in Thermax you would have come across all these fuels also, right? Yeah, Atul, you can hear me? Can you hear me, Atul?
Sorry, there is some network issue. Just a minute. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, Kishan, tell me.
Yeah. No, I was saying, have you had any exposure towards biodiesel, bioethanol, and there's plastic-based oil and tire-based oil? Because these are, I'm sure in Thermax, these fuels also would have come out as options and all, right?
No, currently they are not using they don't have any type of such technology because they are fully focused on HSD, LDO side. So I don't know. I need to check with those my colleagues, friends, whether that technology is available on biodiesel kind of thing or bioethanol or plastic oil.
We'll go through bioethanol. I think once I go through the deck, I think we'll also be pretty clear. Let me see what she's covered in the deck because anyway, we'll keep it a very open discussion. So that we can keep discussing, and I'll discuss this with you the various business, because this has been my core area for a very long time. Before I moved to all types of biofuels in 2016-17, but liquid biofuels has been an area where I've been for more than 15 years. So close to 17 years. So no, 17 years. So I'd be able to throw a lot of light on it. So anyways, I'll just share the screen also, so that the presentation is also there, but we'll not restrict ourselves to the presentation. We'll keep discussing so that we can learn more about all of this. It becomes easier for all of you. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Right. So liquid biofuels as such, is a much newer concept than solid biofuels. Solid biofuels have been there for a much longer time, I think, for a very long time. Although technically liquid biofuels was there also for a long time. It is historically believed that, even during the Second World War, the Germans used biodiesel for their automobiles during the war. But that's been a very long time. We don't know the exact veracity of those facts. But biodiesel has been an old technology because it's not rocket science. It's a technology has been there. So in this liquid biofuels, but relatively to all of you, just a minute, huh? Just a minute. Give me a minute. I'll come back. Sorry, yeah. On a grim note, I lost a very good friend of mine today. In fact, yesterday night.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah. So actually, his uncle is the one who had called me. So yeah, so I had to attend those calls. So sorry for the interruption.
It's okay.
Right. So yeah. So I'll just continue with the thing. So liquid biofuels is a much recent type of a biofuel when compared to the solid biofuels. More recently, it kind of picked up only in early 2000s. In fact, somewhere around 2003, 2004, the again discussion about liquid biofuel started picking up, primarily because crude oil prices started going high and people started becoming very panicky about the crude oil prices. Indian government was losing a lot because they were subsidizing diesel, petrol and stuff. So that's when the entire concept of liquid biofuels or liquid waste fuels that replace, fossil fuels started coming up. And the evolution of it was, biodiesel is what we'll cover first because, in terms of transport fuels, people classify economies as diesel economy or petrol economy or a gas economy. Okay. So from that classification, India is predominantly a diesel economy. Okay, because slowly it is migrating towards a petrol economy and then towards a gas economy, but predominantly till now India is a diesel economy where most vehicles, both in terms of domestic and commercial vehicles, have been on diesel. So that's why the entire discussion started off with biodiesel. So biodiesel is, for technically, it's called a fatty acid of methyl ester. It's basically can be produced from any type of vegetable oil. So even any edible vegetable oils also can be converted into biodiesel. Similarly, non-edible oils can be also be converted. It's at that time that the entire crop about Jatropha and Pungamia started picking up significantly. This was in 2003, 2004. India had its first draft policy for biofuels also in 2004. Okay. So So that's how the entire discussion started. Our president, Dr. Abdul Kalam, also was a very big advocate for Jethrofa-based biodiesel, or as such for liquid biofuels. So that's how I also got inspired. Just to tell you the story of how I got into biofuels. I was into air conditioning and power projects, and at that time I had to consult for someone, GVK Power, in fact, was trying to move into biodiesel-based power generation instead of naphtha-based power generation. So that's how I got sucked into biofuels, and then this discussion from Dr. Abdul Kalam was my biggest inspiration to go become entrepreneurial and start farming of Jethrofa and stuff. So as I told you the other day, that was a big disaster. It didn't go well. So that's the background of biodiesel. So technically, biodiesel can be manufactured from any vegetable oil, or what we call triglycerides and fatty acids. In technical terms, they are called triglycerides and fatty acids. So basically, any triglyceride or fatty acid can basically be converted into biodiesel. Okay. First, we'll just do a brief here, and then we'll go in more detail with each of the biofuel. So the second is bioethanol. Bioethanol, you must be knowing, is basically a substitute for petrol. Just like biodiesel is a substitute for diesel, bioethanol is a substitute for petrol. Okay, so bioethanol is basically manufactured. So we'll come into, I think we have individual, okay, we don't have an individual section on bioethanol, but anyway, immediately after biodiesel, I will cover that also. So just broadly, what you need to know currently is that it's basically a substitute for petrol. And I will speak about the evolution and all as we go through. Immediately after the biodiesel portion, before we go to the bio-LDO portion, I will explain that to you. And third is the bio-LDO. Okay, so LDO, I'm sure just now Atul had referred to. These are used in boilers and as heating fuels and all that. It's basically light diesel oil. It's a slightly inferior version of diesel, which the refineries give for heating purposes and certain power plant applications where there's a huge consumption of fuel. Now there's a replacement for that also in bio. Incidentally, initially they used to be manufactured also from vegetable oil wastes and vegetable oil refining wastes and extraction wastes used to be converted into bio-LDO and bio-FO. But I'm sure Atul, Mahesh, and all of you, if you've been following vegetable oil prices and agro prices in India, last 2-3 years, agro prices in India have been crazy. In fact, they've been going up and up. In fact, really skyrocketing. Correct, Atul?
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah, it's been crazy the way vegetable oil prices have been going in India, especially all agro prices for that matter. So that's when this concept of post 2012, 13, around 14 is when the concept of plastic pyrolysis, using plastic waste, doing pyrolysis and converting that into a bio-LDO equivalent started picking up. Similarly, using rubber waste and tire waste and doing pyrolysis and converting that into an LDO replacement also started picking up. So these researchers and these became commercial post 2013, 14, and this picked up really well. In fact, that technology also has picked up, in fact, tremendously well, and I see a very, very significant future for that particular technology. Immensely because of multiple aspects. I'll speak more detailed technical aspects as we reach there. But on a broad basis, now they've been able to refine it to as close to diesel as possible. So you can take all cuts that you can take from a normal crude oil kind of thing and be having something that can replace LDO, something that can replace diesel, and that can be something that can replace petrol and kerosene also. So that technology has evolved significantly. So plastic-based pyrolytic oil, tire-based pyrolytic oil also is going forward will be the primary replacement for bio-LDO and bio-FO. So we do those products also through our platform. So Has the intro been clear so far? Are you guys clear on it?
Yes, clear.
Yes.
Yes.
As I said yesterday, it's more let's keep it even like a discussion. I'm perfectly okay with you guys interrupting me anytime in between, and to get more clarity or keep the discussion going.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. So then what happened? So let's go into biodiesel B100 specifically. So as I said, it's basically a substitute for diesel. It's a substitute for diesel in basically every application. Wherever diesel is used, it can be used in commercial vehicles or transport. But in commercial vehicles and transport, what we've seen with our experience is 100% biodiesel, still there are issues. As in, I wouldn't say very comfortably in certain old commercial vehicles, yes, but in modern commercial vehicles, what happens is, biodiesel as such as 100% substitute for diesel, there are issues because of two reasons. One, I'll just take you to the specification. You can see here that the viscosity of biodiesel is 4.37, density 0.87 here, right? You can see the cursor, right, around that. You guys are able to see my screen and see the cursor around it?
Yes, Kishan.
Yes.
So those two properties are one reason, because nowadays recently most diesel vehicles and engines are microprocessor driven. So any minor change in viscosity and density, the pumps will have a certain issue. So 100% replacement of biodiesel, we've seen in new vehicles there are 100% usage of it. There are issues, especially during cold weathers, because being vegetable oil a product produced from vegetable oils, what happens during cold weathers, their viscosity and density change rapidly. They tend to increase and moreover influence something called let me see if the value is here, what they would call okay, so that property is not here in this thing, but what they call the cold filter plugging point, or what they call the cloud point. This temperature, this property basically measures whether in cold weather it will be thickening, whether this particular fuel will thicken and whether it will create any problem with the injector in the engine. So this is generally high for a biodiesel, typically more than 13 degrees centigrade. Okay, so I'm sure even in India, many places, including in Ooty, Kodaikanal and all, even in Bangalore, what happens is during cold weather, temperatures go below 15, 14, 13, 20, 12 degrees very easily. Even in Coimbatore during winters, what happens is, although the temperature might go only up to 15, 16 degrees, the metal tanks in the vehicles go below 13. And so these issues will crop up. So we generally don't recommend biodiesel as a 100% substitute for diesel in engines, especially new commercial vehicles and transport cars. We generally recommend that as blends of up to 50%. We've seen that there is no issue. Typically between 30 to 50% is what we advise. Government in India has already recommended that up to 20% all engine manufacturers should give warranty on biodiesel. And as per the government mandate, the diesel in your bunk is already supposed to be 5% biodiesel, but because of supply issues and the pricing issues that the government gives, India has still not been able to go even beyond 1% of biodiesel blend in the bunks. So that's the reality. Any doubts? Any questions? Any of you guys have?
No.
Feel free, interrupt me anytime.
Even Nitin Gadkari. बोले.
Yeah.
Currently, I believe this transport line, the largest transport line in India, they are mixing somewhere around 20-25% biodiesel in their tank along with normal diesel. Is it true?
To a great extent, Atulji, what happens is when we speak of the market, problem with biodiesel is, raw material prices are very high. Most manufacturers are not able to consistently produce manufacture because they are having availability issues of raw material, and because of which pricing issues they are having. So many of them are not able to consistently produce. But yeah, up to 20-25% blends, there are transporters who are doing. So yeah, but largely there are supply issues that we are seeing in biodiesel because of the raw material prices and raw material availability. That's been a challenge when I was running my manufacturing on unit, and still continues to be a challenge. Primarily because I would blame the biodiesel manufacturers in India also largely for that, because they never invested in technology and in R&D.
Correct.
Okay. So just to bring at this point of time, I had told you during my intro that when I shut down my factory, we moved into technology business, right? We started setting up plants for biodiesel across India. So through my cousin's sister company, we have a patented technology for biodiesel manufacturing, which can actually produce biodiesel from very low grade vegetable oil wastes with an efficiency of more than 92% and meeting European standards. But the problem is the technology cost is very high. So in India, nobody invests in such good technologies or in R&D. So what happens is they invest less on technology. They put up a suboptimal or not a very good technology, and hence the raw materials that they can process becomes very less. So when the price of these raw materials go up, they are not able to continuously produce. So that's a problem that the biodiesel industry in India has generally faced. So there are supply issues. Many of them have started trialing. We are in talks with Coca-Cola. We have supplied to Let's Transport, some of the really big transporters and units. But the truth of the matter is, even we have not been able to consistently supply because the manufacturers have not been able to run it regularly.
Okay.
So that's a challenge in the biodiesel space. Unless we are able to break the raw material side of the chain, we will not be able to, break that, ensure regular supply of biodiesel. That's been a problem with biodiesel B100. Yeah.
Correct.
Very true. So, but in general, diesel heating applications, marine diesel engines and all, biodiesel B100 can be used 100% without any problem. They don't need to be blended. They can be used as B100 itself. They work really fine with giving much lesser emissions. In some applications, like diesel heating applications, giving a better efficiency than diesel. So that's where the biodiesel basically gets replaced. So if you see the produced from a part in my slide, I would have said used cooking oil, wastes of vegetable oil refineries, and non-edible oils and fats. So it's supposed to be non-edible oils and fats. I think there's a typo. It's called fats. Okay. So in this, what happens? Now let's come into in Indian scenario. Most biodiesel manufacturers are dependent either on used cooking oil or non-edible oils and fats. Okay. Now, used cooking oil availability is a big challenge. Okay. Now, availability is a big challenge, and the adulteration market is still controlling a major part of the used cooking oil in India. Okay. Although the government has brought some very good norms, like they have legally made that used cooking oil should be used only for biodiesel, should be supplied only to FSSA approved biodiesel manufacturers. All of this has been brought as a law, but unfortunately many people are able to find loopholes and break that in ways, and it is still going in a big way to the adulteration market, where the price offered for used cooking oil is very high. Okay. Second, so availability is a big challenge because as I said, in biofuels or any fuels for that matter, scale is very important. You should manufacture 10,000 liters per day and upwards. Only then you are going to be a viable unit. Okay. So for 10,000 liters per day, at least 5,000 liters per day regular supply of used cooking oil if you want, you are not getting that currently in India. So practically the situation is in which we are trying to solve with you as a team and with the team realignment that I've done in TN and KL. Because almost every biodiesel manufacturer is on our platform. All of them are asking for used cooking oil, but we are not able to help any of them because the supply is so much short, and the adulteration market is able to control a very big chunk of it. Okay, so we are trying to solve those issues in just to bring to your notice, by April we'll be also bringing in a blockchain based traceability. We'll be the first company in India to give a complete blockchain traceability of used cooking oil. Currently, we are the only company in India who can give a digital traceability of used cooking oil, right from restaurant to aggregator to biodiesel manufacturer. So we are giving all that kind of visibility and all that, but still I think we need to do certain things to break the control of the adulteration market and the loopholes that exist in that market chain. So what happens is, used cooking oil, nobody is getting enough quantity. So they are not able to produce biodiesel consistently from used cooking oil. Although technically it's very easy to produce biodiesel from used cooking oil. So it doesn't require any expensive technology also. So most technologies in India manufacture biodiesel from used cooking oil or non-edible oils and fats. So in the non-edible oils and fats, if you see what comes as non-edible oils and fats. So primarily animal tallow and chicken tallow oil, I said. Most biodiesel manufacturers in India cannot process chicken tallow oil because it comes with certain high FFA, certain other specifications which they are not able to process. So their technology does not allow chicken tallow oil. So they are dependent on animal tallow. Animal tallow is the most available, easily processable raw material or waste for biodiesel manufacturing. But again, there the prices vary when vegetable oil prices change and import restriction or export restrictions or export market gets hit. What happens? The prices of tallow oil goes up very much. When palm oil and vegetable oil prices go up, animal tallow price also skyrocket. Okay, because just to bring to your notice, animal tallow also has adulteration market in India. They go for adulteration in ghee, in vanaspati and all that also.
Oh my God.
The more you are in our industry, the more you will get scared to eat outside. So, I'll give you a disclaimer. The more you listen to me, the more you understand this market, you will get scared, more and more scared to go and eat outside. A lot of used cooking oil goes for re-refining and adulteration. A lot of animal tallow goes for adulteration with ghee and vanaspati. So the market prices offered by them is much higher than what biodiesel manufacturers give. So I think unless we are able to push a blockchain-based, digital-based traceability right at the end where it's being generated, it is difficult for us to, ensure transparency and traceability. That's what we are trying to do with technology in this particular space. But currently, animal tallow still comes a lot for biodiesel manufacturing. Many biodiesel manufacturers buy animal tallow oil. But again, prices is very high for at least 3 to 4 months a year. It is really very high. So biodiesel manufacturers are unable to continuously use that. So now that's what brings me to, so when we say first generation technology of biodiesel manufacturing, first generation technology of biodiesel manufacturing used oils like Jatropha, Pongamia and all that, non-edible oils, okay? But as I explained to you, there was no scalability there. And even availability of that much, if you are to produce 10,000 liters of biodiesel, you needed something close to 12,000 to 13,000 liters of oil. And for you to get 13,000 liters of oil, you needed something like almost, 40 tons of seeds every day. So, you backwork that way and you will understand that's like, if you needed 40 tons of seeds a day, the acreage and hectareage of cultivation of Jatropha pongamia needed to be huge. Okay,
Correct.
although theoretically, people will say India has so much wasteland, India has so much forest land. In all of this will grow. It really doesn't work that way, because being into Jatropha cultivation, I can tell you, unless we irrigate it, it doesn't yield. So in wasteland, if you crop, it's going to grow. It will not die, but it will not give you any seed also. So these were issues that people didn't understand. So that was the first generation of technology, which couldn't work commercially. The second generation of technology of biodiesel is where people started using these used cooking oil, animal tallow, and palm stearine. Palm stearine prices, you will not believe, today are in the range of 85 to 95 rupees a kg. So there is no way somebody is going to be able to manufacture biodiesel from it and compete with diesel.
Correct.
The second generation technology is where India, all manufacturers are invested in, but they have a problem because you don't get consistent supply and the pricing of the raw material is not going to be viable for you right through the year. For 4 to 5 months a year, it will be viable. For majority of the year, it's not going to be viable. Okay, so that is the problem with the second generation. So the patented technology that I was telling you about, what we have across in Malaysia, that's a third generation technology where you use very low grade wastes of vegetable oil refining wastes like acid oils, fatty acids. The prices of these oils are low, in the range between 30 to 50 rupees a kg. Okay, at the peak itself, they are not more than 60 rupees a kg, and average their prices is between 40 to 46 rupees a kg. So this is the viable range in which raw materials work. Unfortunately, nobody in India has invested in a technology that can process that. There are a couple of them who invested in indigenous technologies at low capex, but very low efficiency, and so they are not able to economically viably run. This is the reason why neither IOC BPCL is able to consistently get biodiesel in India, nor are we able to get consistent supply of biodiesel in India. So that is the issue that we are facing with biodiesel. So I've covered all these three raw materials. So the first generation was dependent on non-edible oils. The second generation was dependent on used cooking oil and fats. The third generation will depend on wastes of vegetable oil refineries. Now, more and more manufacturers in India, we believe in the next 2-3 years, you will see a lot of manufacturing units coming in with the third generation technology where they're able to process wastes of vegetable oil refineries. Then we will have a regular supply of biodiesel B100, and hence then all this market opens up significantly because it's a huge market. India is among the largest consumers of diesel in the world.
Correct.
So biodiesel as such is a tremendous market to look out for. So typical properties that people look for is density, viscosity, ester content, distillation temperature, flash point, and also cloud point. It's not added here, but that's also something that people look at when they discuss biodiesel with you. So yeah, I think we'll need all of your support and all of your help and approach and work to ensure we get regular supply of biodiesel. To ensure regular supply of biodiesel, we will have to ensure regular supply of raw materials to these biodiesel manufacturers at good price. So that is why we expanded our team, broke them into different states, and individually you could handle different SKUs. So I think this will it'll pan out as a tremendous market and a tremendous source over the next 1 year to 2 years. But currently, I should be honest, supply is extremely constrained for biodiesel because raw materials availability for biodiesel supply is constrained because people have not invested in technology to produce it from wastes of vegetable oil refineries. Okay. Any doubts on biodiesel? Anything you guys want to share? Anything you guys want to think and discuss?
Is there any process for this quality check during the transaction?
Yeah. As I said, we have for liquid biofuels, what we do for every tanker load, we offer 3 tests minimum testing arrangement with our external labs for all customers. Because in liquid biofuels, we can afford to do it because our margins are slightly better there. margins I wouldn't say in terms of percentage, but in terms of absolute value. So for most tanker loads about 24,000 liters, we offer testing. We also do a regular testing of these test parameters through our external labs. We have selected our external labs in such a way that they are able to test liquid biofuels, waste-based pyrolytic fuels, and solid fuels. So these parameters, based on the client's requirement, we guide them on what parameters they should check also, because many of them don't know. The most critical parameter is ester content, because most of them will be able to check the density and viscosity at their end itself. So most important parameters are ester content, distillation temperature, and cloud point. So we help them with testing of that. Yes, very valid point. Anything else? Sanjay, Harshad, Mahesh, Omkar, anything you guys want to know?
ये नितिन गडकरी जी ने एक बार
not as far.
जी
हाँ हर्षद काही बोलायचं आहे?
हाँ एक विचारायचं होतं ये बीच में नितिन गडकरी जी ने कुछ अनाउंस किया था फ्लेक्स फ्यूल इंजन के बारे में.
बिल्कुल.
तो हाँ तो ये भी
ग्रेट. अभी 6 months में इंडिया फ्लेक्स फ्यूल्स के इंजन को मैंडेटरी करने वाले हैं कि सारे इंजन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स को फ्लेक्स फ्यूल्स देना पड़ेगा, which basically means 100% बायोएथेनॉल और 100% बायोडीजल पे उनको वारंटी देना पड़ेगा.
ओके.
तो उसके जब आई थिंक इन द नेक्स्ट 3-4 months हमारे लिए बायोडीजल और बायोएथेनॉल में एक बहुत बड़ा मार्केट ओपन होगा.
ओके, स्कोप भी बढ़ेगा.
हाँ, तो बायोएथेनॉल और बायोडीजल में 100% रन करने के लिए भी वारंटी देंगे वो, बट ओनली फॉर न्यू व्हीकल्स जो भी
न्यू मैन्युफैक्चर्ड
मैन्युफैक्चर होते हैं उनको फ्लेक्स फ्यूल्स में रन करना पड़ेगा. सो इसका वो एक लॉ लेके आने वाले हैं. जैसे मैंने बोला था, आई थिंक नितिन गडकरी हैज बीन वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट सपोर्टर्स फॉर बायोफ्यूल्स इन इंडिया. All types of biofuels. He's been a tremendous support and a tremendous visionary in that sector. So
he also has his own waste management company. उनके खुद की भी एक वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी है.
आप आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू नो 2008-9 में उनका खुद का बायोडीजल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी भी था.
हाँ,
करेक्ट.
So he comes from that sector and he has a vision for that sector. So it's a glad to get that kind of support from the governance side also. तो वो जब वो आता है तो आई थिंक वो बहुत बड़ा एक मार्केट ओपन अप होगा बायोडीजल और बायोएथेनॉल के लिए. आई थिंक वायबिलिटी भी इम्प्रूव हो जाएगा तब तक. तो इसमें क्या होता है कि जो बायोडीजल या सो these are the primary parameters. So ये आप देख सकते हैं. So डिटेल्ड पैरामीटर्स सब हैं. तो इसमें सब जो डीजल में जो भी मेजर होना है बायोडीजल के, गवर्नमेंट का एक स्टैंडर्ड है. सो ये आपको सब, बहुत लोग जब बायोडीजल को नहीं जानते तो क्लाइंट्स पूछते हैं मेरे गाड़ी में प्रॉब्लम होगा क्या वगैरह भी. तो बेसिकली इंडियन गवर्नमेंट का खुद का स्टैंडर्ड है जो 2016 में रिवाइज हुआ है. पहले इश्यू हुआ था 2008 में और फिर 2016 में रिवाइज हुआ है. तो उसके हिसाब से अगर बायोडीजल आता है तो वो दैट इज इक्वल टू अमेरिकन स्टैंडर्ड एंड नो इट विल क्रिएट नो प्रॉब्लम फॉर मोस्ट डीजल इंजन्स. जैसे मैंने बोला नए डीजल इंजन, न्यू डीजल इंजन्स इट विल क्रिएट सम प्रॉब्लम, बट मोस्ट डीजल इंजन्स इट विल नॉट क्रिएट एनी प्रॉब्लम. सो द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज एस्टर कंटेंट हियर. तो व्हाट एस्टर कंटेंट टेल्स इज कि कितने एफिशिएंसी से ये कन्वर्ट हुआ है, बायोडीजल कितना कन्वर्ट हुआ है और कितने एफिशिएंसी से कन्वर्ट हुआ है, कितना इम्प्यूरिटीज है वगैरह सब ये एस्टर कंटेंट का परसेंटेज से मिल जाता है. इट शुड नॉट बी लेस देन 97%. तो 97% और मोर, इट इज मोर और लेस प्योर बायोडीजल. तो दैट टेल्स अस हाउ इजीली इट कैन बी यूज्ड. डेंसिटी और विस्कोसिटी इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि वो पंपिंग, जो इंजन्स का पंपिंग है, तो दैट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन डेंसिटी और विस्कोसिटी. So those are also two very important properties. Mostly clients खुद density immediately hygro check कर सकते हैं, hygrometer रख के. Viscosity भी most of them B4 cup एक बोल के आसानी से उनके ही premises में टेस्ट कर सकते हैं. But ester content, distillation temperature और क्लाउड पॉइंट वो खुद चेक नहीं कर पाते हैं, तो वो हम सपोर्ट करते हैं उनको इसके चेकिंग में. Anything else?
No.
So as we said, through biofuel, so biodiesel, since I come from that sector, and very confidently I can tell you, in South India, almost all biodiesel manufacturers in South India are there on our platform already. 60 to 70% in west of India also are there on our biodiesel platform already, biofuel platform already. So from a supply base, we have the largest supply base of biodiesel, and I can guarantee on biodiesel case I can always bring it. We can, but problem is the supply base is not able to generate a supply of biodiesel because of raw material issues. Now that is what we are trying to solve by ensuring digital traceability and trying to bring in blockchain traceability right from the refinery end or right from the restaurant end, to ensure that the used cooking oil or the tallow or the vegetable oil wastes are sold through biodiesel. We can give a more verified traceability for that. So that's why through biodiesel, and I think we can very confidently say that we can create the most strongest supply chain, because a lot of tanker transporters have been my clients, have been my vendors as transporters also. So we supply chain also, we are pretty much taken care in terms of biodiesel in India. But now the challenge is to ensure regular supply of raw material. It's a very simple game. अगर हम रेगुलर सप्लाई ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल अरेंज कर देते हैं तो हमें रेगुलर सप्लाई ऑफ बायोडीजल मिल जाता है, एंड देन वी कंट्रोल द मार्केट. सो दैट्स व्हाट वी विल ट्राई टू फोकस ऑन गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. बट या करंटली ऐसे मैंने बोला कि हमारा प्राइमरी फोकस सॉलिड बायोफ्यूल्स में है, क्योंकि वॉल्यूम वैल्यू उसमें से ड्राइव होगा, एंड बायोडीजल अब we are is slightly on the lower focus, primarily because of supply issues and manufacturer issues that we are facing. तो ये एक टिपिकल टेस्ट रिपोर्ट है जो हमारे क्लाइंट से हमने चेक किया था एज पर टेस्ट रिक्वायरमेंट्स. सो और जैसे रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ क्लाइंट के हिसाब से हमने ये चेक करके दिया था फॉर बायर. तो दिस इज अ टिपिकल टेस्ट. तो अगर हम मार्केट का बात करेंगे तो ट्रांसपोर्ट इज द बिगेस्ट सेक्टर जहां बायोडीजल यूज होता है. प्राइमरी सेक्टर इज ट्रांसपोर्ट. सेकेंड इज, जैसे अतुल जी ने बोला, थर्मैक्स के जो बॉयलर्स है और जो हीटिंग एप्लीकेशंस हैं जहां पे बायोडीजल यूज होता है, दैट इज सेकेंड बिग सेक्टर वेयर इट इज कंज्यूम्ड. As an industry अगर देखेंगे तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इंडस्ट्री, in addition to transport industry, infrastructure industry is a very big consumer of diesel and LDO. बहुत से जगहों में वो LDO से डीजल कन्वर्ट हो चुके हैं, स्पेशली NHA प्रोजेक्ट्स में LDO से डीजल कन्वर्ट हो चुके हैं. तो that is another big sector where which is a big sector for biodiesel, where a lot of you can focus on. In terms of, let me just see if we have a market thing here for any of these. Yeah, yes, we do have. So we'll come to it. I think yeah, they've kind of done it for all types of fuel bases. So we'll come to it. I think so. Before I go to bio LDO, I'll take you through bioethanol. Bioethanol, I think why we've not put that is because so far we've not done any transaction of bioethanol in India through our platform. बिकॉज जैसे मैंने पहले दिन बोला, जैसे अतुल जी ने पूछा क्यों आप बायोएथेनॉल, तो बायोएथेनॉल हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म में है और हम वो ट्रेड करना भी चाहते हैं. वी वांट टू ट्रेड इट, बट द प्रॉब्लम इज इंडिया में अभी तक बायोएथेनॉल ट्रेडिंग एंड रिटेलिंग ओपन इज नॉट ओपनड अप. बट एज आई सेड अगेन, द ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर नितिन गडकरी इज and the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas have committed that very soon, before the flex fuel law comes, petrol retailing will also be opened up in India. India, when I said, is basically a diesel economy. India में petrol is used only for domestic vehicles. जैसे आप देखते हैं cars, bikes primarily. तो जो वॉल्यूम इंडिया डीजल में कंज्यूम करता है, that is almost 3 to 4 times more than what it consumes for petrol. So petrol consumption is much smaller when compared to countries like US, Middle East, or even for that matter Singapore, or even Europe, many countries in Europe. So जब compare करेंगे इंडिया में पेट्रोल का consumption कम है क्योंकि it is primarily only a domestic fuel, especially in the cars and bike segment, predominantly in the bike segment. तो that is why bioethanol is not a commercial fuel. And जैसे हम B2B platform हैं, we are not a B2C platform, we are a B2B platform. तो जो unless retailers are setting up retail bunks of biodiesel and bioethanol, we have no specific market. Moreover, it is not legally permitted. So retail of bioethanol has not opened up in India. So that is the reason why हमने अभी तक bioethanol as such ट्रांसैक्शन किया नहीं है. बट जैसे हर्षद ने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले बोला, within 6 months we will have flex fuels becoming a law, and you will also see retailing of petrol also opened up. At that time, retailing of bioethanol will be opened up. So at that time, we believe we will be able to partner with retailers for biodiesel and bioethanol and try to give both these products to them through our platform. So currently we are not dealing because bioethanol commercial sale में अभी तक उसका एक बहुत significant volume या market नहीं है, और हम B2B platform है. So since we are a B2B platform, there is no significant market as of now for bioethanol. But bioethanol is a very interesting fuel where the technology has evolved. So the first generation technology is manufacturing bioethanol from sugar cane and corn. Okay, तो इनसे जो sugar manufacture होता है, तो from that sugar या starch, after the processing molasses होता है. So from the molasses what they do is they also are able to produce bioethanol. So bioethanol is manufactured in the first generation technology primarily from the sugar industry and corn industry, both were the primary sources for bioethanol, and because starch and sugar were manufactured from these sources in many ways. So, but अभी उसके बाद क्या हुआ, second generation technology में bioethanol started getting manufactured from grains. So सारे जो grains हैं, especially जो rotten grains हैं, so basically it's nothing rocket science नहीं था. जो alcohol है, जो alcohol हम consume करते हैं, that was always manufactured from grains. तो उस grain से manufacture होता है, तो उससे bioethanol भी manufacture कर सकते थे. So the reason why earlier they were not able to manufacture bioethanol from grains was जो गाड़ी में use करते हैं bioethanol, that has to be anhydrous. Basically 98 proof, 99 proof what they say in ethanol. वो बोले तो almost 99% ethanol ही होना चाहिए. Only 1% to 1.5% impurities or other materials should be there, or moisture itself should not be there. Anything जो alcohol है वो moisture को बहुत जल्दी absorb कर लेता है. तो जो हम ethanol drink करते हैं, जो alcohol हम drink करते हैं, वो उसका proof generally बहुत the pure alcohol itself will be 95% only. And because even not even 95%, typically between 90%, 85% kind of, and that is further blended with other stuff. That's why when you will see in your drinks nothing more than 40% alcohol generally, right? So if you take the most premium kind of a vodka, it will be between 40-42%, if I'm not mistaken. So typically the rest of them will be lower than that. So उसमें anhydrous होने की जरूरत नहीं है, तो वो it can have water. But जो गाड़ी में use करते हैं, that has to be close to 98.5-99% proof. ये grain से manufacture करना difficult था पहले, तो technology evolve हो गया, तो उससे भी manufacture कर पाते हैं. Going forward, why we think bioethanol will become a major player even in commercial vehicles and heating applications is, अभी third generation technology में basically किसी भी biomass से any cellulose can be converted into bioethanol. उसको हम cellulosic bioethanol बोलते हैं. तो wood chips से भी bioethanol manufacture करना शुरू हो चुका है. US में अभी major source of bioethanol manufacturing wood chips हो चुका है. ठीक है, तो wood chips एंड स्लोली बाकी के जो ड्राई बायोमास हैं उनसे हम बायोएथेनॉल मैन्युफैक्चर कर सकते हैं. टेक्निकली इट इज पॉसिबल नाउ, कमर्शियली आल्सो इट इज बिकमिंग वायबल. सो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आई थिंक इंडिया में अभी तक सेलुलोसिक बायोएथेनॉल का एक भी प्लांट नहीं है. इंडिया में अभी भी हम फर्स्ट जनरेशन में स्टक है. अभी जो मोस्ट ऑफ द बायोएथेनॉल मैन्युफैक्चरर्स इंडिया में वो शुगर केन से ही मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं. जो भी शुगर इंडस्ट्री डालते हैं उनके बाई प्रोडक्ट से वो आसानी से मैन्युफैक्चर कर लेते हैं, इसलिए उनको कॉस्ट कम पड़ता है और वॉल्यूम्स भी मैन्युफैक्चर कर पाते हैं. बट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड सेलुलोसिक बायोएथेनॉल विल स्टार्ट competing with sugar based bioethanol on pricing. So cellulosic bioethanol will become a very big thing. तो going forward bioethanol का market भी बढ़ जाएगा, but I think another 1 to 2 years you will see cellulosic ethanol starting in India. तो क्या हो जाता है, जब cellulosic bioethanol हो जाता है तो commercial vehicles में भी they'll start putting petrol. In heating applications they will start pushing petrol. Okay, so that is the background of bioethanol. So मैंने बोला इसका अभी भी इंडिया में एक B2B मार्केट नहीं है. IOC, BPCL are our only B2B मार्केट. उनको अप्रोच करने के लिए भी हम एक पर्टिकुलर टेक्नोलॉजी इंप्रूवमेंट कर रहे हैं जिससे वी वांट टू टाई अप विद देम, बट अभी तक तो वी आर नॉट फोकसिंग ऑन देम. इसीलिए हमने बायोएथेनॉल का एक भी ट्रांजैक्शन किया नहीं है अभी तक. So that is why bioethanol as a SKU is still inactive in biofuel as a platform. But after 6 months, जैसे हर्षद ने बोला, जैसे ही flex fuels open होता है, जैसे ही retailing of bioethanol open हो जाता है, that market will start picking up also for us. ठीक है? Any doubts, any questions, any point for discussion that any of you want to share?
What is the technology for bioethanol from biomass?
So yeah, that's what they call a cellulosic bioethanol. So जो भी biomass है, whatever biomass is there, whatever wood chips are there, they are basically cellulose. Correct?
Correct.
So these cellulose, you can extract starch from these cellulose and convert that starch again into ethanol using the normal process, and then that's the technology for manufacturing bioethanol from wood chips and biomass.
Okay.
And this is now already started in commercial scale in the US. It is slowly spreading towards Canada, and more and more, I think even in India, the policy, if you see the latest biofuel policy launched in 2018, they speak a lot about cellulosic bioethanol because globally it is considered a big future for bioethanol, where they will be able to increase the applications of petrol and bioethanol into much more fuel applications because availability will become huge, the availability will become large. So technology, I think sooner or later in India also we will see that technology coming in.
Because these countries is having a lot of huge woody biomass in
Exactly.
Canada, US. They are fully dependent on woody biomass.
Very true. Perfect.
Volume is very high. Availability is good.
Very true. So that is why even in India they are very bullish about woody biomass based cellulosic bioethanol. So that will be another going forward a tremendous space for us to work on.
Correct.
Okay. Now I'll come to bio-LDO. Okay, I told you the evolution of bio-LDO earlier, right? So bio-LDO initially used to be manufactured from vegetable oil refinery wastes. Pretty much process similar to biodiesel manufacturing. Transesterification was the basic process, but the fuel was not as refined as diesel, so went into bio-LDO space. But again, because vegetable oil prices have gone up, their byproducts and waste prices have gone up, it is not able to replace bio-LDO cost effectively. So what happened? People started moving to pyrolytic based bio-LDO, which was processed from plastic wastes and rubber wastes. So LDO is a huge fuel. Look, let me tell you, because this is a very underrated market in India. Okay, being in that space, I have always considered the LDO market a major market, especially in the B2B space. Look, cracking B2B biodiesel is a challenge because transporters are dependent on warranty for engine manufacturers. So converting someone who's using diesel into biodiesel requires to build awareness, a lot more time frame to bring them there, and the volumes will only slowly grow. Okay, in the B2B space, unless you are able to sell to a large corporate and IOC, BPCL kind of stuff. But LDO, practically, let me tell you, 90% of the road construction and infrastructure companies in India still use LDO. Okay, only one single sector. Okay, construction and infrastructure sector. Okay, to just give you a hint, just the construction and infrastructure sector alone consume close to 8% of India's total fuel consumption. Okay, so roughly in 300 million tons, just even if you take 8% is 24 million tons is consumed by this single sector. Okay, and in this single sector, of the 24 million tons, close to 90% or even slightly more, so between 18 to 20 million tons is LDO. And this is the tremendous potential that we can try to replace with bio-LDO. So this has been so far our primary bread and butter, honestly, till say January, solid biofuels in terms of volume started picking up and did better than bio-LDO. But till say November, to a great extent, I can tell you confidently, this was our primary revenue generator, primary volume generator, and this sector is an easy low-hanging fruit where we can target, because they have no problem in switching. Their only problem in switching is price, and slowly through biofuels, we are trying to make them also more environmentally conscious. So that is another factor. If these two factors click, this is an easy switch for you. Okay, because any industrial heating application, diesel heating applications, like Atul was saying, any Thermax boiler or any boiler and heating application where they were using LDO, it's an easy switch to a bio-LDO. There is nothing. And the best part about the plastic waste-based LDO and the tire waste-based LDO, more in the plastic waste-based LDO, it's a much more superior fuel than LDO. Unlike other biofuels, the edge that these fuels have is that they are a better fuel than the fuel that you are replacing, both in terms of calorific value, moisture content, and performance point of view. It's a better fuel that you are giving with a better environmental and social benefit, and currently even with some amount of price benefit. So the moment we are able to do that, it's an easy switch. Okay, today in the plastic pyrolytic and tire pyrolytic oil, from a market, from the production point of view, supply point of view, most of the manufacturers are in this also in Maharashtra. If I have to say from a percentage point of view, 70%, 60 to 70% of them are in Maharashtra, or let me say 60% of them are in Maharashtra. 20% of them are in Karnataka and Telangana, and the 10% of them are in Gujarat, and the rest of the 10% are in the rest of India. So, our geography of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala perfectly fits this particular space also. So, in this also from a supply point of view, I can, very confidently tell you, I'll come there because, I think I get carried over. So, as we through the presentation, I'll tell you. So, it's a tremendous sector. It's a tremendous fuel that we can focus on. We have a supply advantage here. We have a price advantage here. And we are into supplying plastic waste and tire and rubber waste for these manufacturers also. That's an added advantage that we do. Here it is very simple. If calorific value is good, density is decent, and no big sediments, this fuel is sold. That's why when you see the specifications, the consumer match points, are in this particular calorific value, density, viscosity sediments. These mostly with plastic-based fuel oil and tire-based fuel oil, we are able to easily match it. Okay, so the typical specifications, and unlike a biodiesel, a large specifications is not required. People just look at 2 or 3 of this. Primarily they look at density, they look at gross calorific value, and then they've decided. Very rarely they look at sulfur content, sediments and carbon residue. That's it about it. So with these specifications we are able to match bio-LDO, especially plastic based bio-LDO and tire based bio-LDO generally gets sold out. Okay, so hey, I'm sorry, I'll have to take this call. It's coming from one of my friends. So yeah, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so if you see that this is a typical test report of a plastic LDO, and you can see from a density, viscosity, gross calorific value point, it is a much better fuel than, this is what you see, 11,000 kilocals is typically that of a tire based plastic oil can easily beat that also. Many times plastic based LDO also beats 11,000 kilocals, but anything more than 9,000 kilocals works fine in this application. So, am I audible? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes.
Yeah. So what happens is it's a low hanging fruit where we have a supply advantage currently also, and the market is much easier and much open to switching to this particular LDO, bio-LDO. And this is you can see a typical test report of a tire oil based plastic oil, tire oil based bio-LDO. Okay. Now the reason why I was saying is it's a much superior fuel than the fuel that we are trying to replace. Price in many cases, most of the time is also is also lesser than the fuel that we are trying to replace. We have a supply advantage because I can in this fuel also very confidently say we have the single largest supply base of this particular fuel, and it's a single market that we need to approach. It's not a very wide market. It's a very niche sector with a huge consumption volume, but niche sector. It perfectly fits for an easy low hanging fruit kind of a market. So we've been able to drive significant volume, significant value this fuel, and now is the season. I'm glad all of you are joining. So basically January, the only problem in the sector is it's a Jan to June, primarily when the monsoon is not there kind of a market. So there is a small season between September to December, but the primary season is Jan, Feb to June. That's the primary season of this market, and the volume is huge that we can push during this market. So that's why we with the biggest supply advantage, offering the best possible price and giving quality assurance of the required quantities, quality specs. And as I said, this is the only problem in this market. A significant part of the market is still credit based. We even I wouldn't say we still offered that. But for this fuel also, we are trying to offer credit-based options, which will immediately explode this market and ensure that we should be able to market leader for this particular product line. Going forward, I see a lot of future for plastic-based bio LDO because, as I said, the technology in this particular space also has evolved, and in the next generation, they're able to refine it to as close as diesel in terms of specifications. In some cases, they're able to get different cuts also, like a kerosene cut of plastic-based fuel, petrol cut of a plastic-based fuel, and a diesel cut, and an LDO cut. So the moment you are able to give that kind of a refinery kind of a variability, we see a lot of future. I think this will become a major fuel, and in this, the advantage being the raw material, still there is constraint because not because there is a supply constraint, because aggregators and it is still a very unorganized market in the bio mining and the waste management side. So we are trying to break that chain, and we have an advantage on that side also, since we help in supply of plastic waste and tire waste for these manufacturers. So that control over that space also helps us to have a major say and control on this market. So that's where bio LDO is and will continue to be a major focus area, a major revenue and a volume driver for biofuel going forward.
Correct.
So yeah, similarly, BioFO is very similar. The only thing is, it used to be used in a lot of industries, but unlike LDO, look in the. Just a minute. Sorry for the interruption again. Sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry for this. These calls will keep coming today because, it was a very close friend of ours. So it's a sad loss yesterday night. So, I have to address these calls at that time. I'm sorry for the interruption. So yeah, as I was saying about BioFO. So BioFO, Atulji will be able to throw a lot of light on furnace oil. Earlier, a lot of bio furnaces, boilers used to be furnace oil based. Now they have become solid biofuels, briquettes and loose biomass based. But earlier they used to be primarily furnace oil based. Wherever LDO is used, it is difficult to replace with solid biofuels because the calorific value required, the heating required, the temperatures required are much higher. But where furnace oil were used, they are able to replace it more easily with solid briquettes and loose biomass. So many of them have converted to this. Atul, you want to share your thoughts on this?
No. Let me understand this BioFO first.
Okay. So BioFO is basically a replacement for furnace oil in heating applications, furnace oil power plants, marine engines, and industrial boilers. Typically similar applications to LDO. Only difference being BioFO has a higher density, higher viscosity, slightly lower calorific value, and slightly higher sediments and ash is permitted. So this is basically low-grade tire-based fuel oil. Low-grade tire-based fuel oil is basically what goes as BioFO currently. Earlier, this used to be also manufactured from vegetable oil wastes, much lower-grade pitch kind of vegetable oil waste. But as I said, because of vegetable oil prices going up, the waste and the byproduct prices also started going up significantly for that. So BioFO was not very consistently be viably manufactured from these vegetable oil wastes. So they had to move to again plastic waste and tire waste, predominantly tire and rubber waste. Plastic wastes have evolved in technology significantly, but still a lot of tire based and rubber wastes go as BioFO. Here, density and viscosity of higher range is allowed. Calorific value lower is allowed. It can have more ash and sediments, more viscosity. So not as critical an application as LDO, but the same kind of application of industrial heating, furnaces and all that. So typically in this also, if you see, primarily they'll be looking at calorific value, density and sediments and viscosity, but not as stringently as what they see for LDO and bio-LDO. So it is an easier market, but because it is a market where the calorific value requirement is lesser, and the heating temperatures and what specialty required is lesser, people are able to easily replace these nowadays with biomass and solid biofuels. A lot of boilers and furnaces which were dependent on these FO have been converted to woody biomass, or means I would say loose biomass and solid biofuels. In fact, a lot of kilns in cement industries earlier used to be running on furnace oil. Now, when I say earlier, before 2014. When 2013-14 crude oil started hitting $100, $104 a barrel and all that, and government decreased furnace oil prices significantly, people slowly converted those into biomass and solid biofuels. In this application, it's more easily convertible. Thanks. Okay. Anything you want to add, Atul, now?
But BioFO is still costly as compared to biomass?
Yeah, BioFO is much more common. So what happens in India is, I think both ways, we've done the working both ways. Look, in India, generally people look at working capital and in a very different way. So they typically say 1 ton of biomass briquette typically will cost between 6,000 to 8,000 rupees a ton. Correct? While 1 ton of BioFO will cost anywhere between 30,000 to 35,000 or 38,000 rupees a ton.
Okay.
Correct? So even if you see, assume that the calorific value is 2 times, it still doesn't match. Correct? So they, even if they consume 2 times the more briquettes, still they are consuming for the same heat output only 12,000 rupees per ton if they use biomass. But if they use BioFO, they are consuming 30,000 to 38,000 rupees per ton. So it makes more economic sense for them to move to biomass briquettes and biomass.
Correct.
So that is why BioFO loses out in terms of this thing. But still there are certain applications where heat content is slightly critical. They need a certain amount of heat output and temperature without any interruption and without any continuous stability. In such applications, they are still not able to replace BioFO. So there is a niche market of that which still exists for BioFO, but a very much smaller market than what existed 4 or 5 years back. 4, 5, 6 years back, FO used to be a huge market in India. Practically every steel company used to run on FO. Today, only 20 to 25% of steel companies run on FO. Most of them have converted to biomass or bio-LDO, either of them. If they needed more heat content, they move to bio-LDO. If they're okay with a lower heat content and stability, they move to biomass briquettes and BioFO. Anything else? Anything else?
I think it works on high pressure boiler where they want
exactly.
Where these people have high pressure boiler, they 100% want to go for this FO.
Yeah, they have to go for FO or LDO only. They cannot switch to a woody. Hey, give me a minute. Sorry, again, I'm getting repeated calls. Give me a minute.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, all of you. Sorry, really sorry. I think it's getting a lot of interruptions today, but I'm helpless because of the situation being so. Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. So, right. So that's the typical FO test sample report. If you see the density of FO accepted is 0.96. Kavi kudutharu. 0.96, 0.9. It varies between 0.92 to 0.93. Typically needs to be heavier than LDO. Okay, and you can see the viscosity is there's a mistake. So BioFO sample generally has a viscosity of between 50 to 38 to 70. It's 382. They put it basically 38 to this thing, and even calorific value is put in pounds per BTU per pound, but basically on a kilocal per kg, that will translate to between 9,000 to 9,500 kilocals per kg. And so now, just speaking on the markets, right? So infrastructure is a huge sector. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's an easy structure for all of you in sales of sales in biofuel. I think infrastructure will be one of the key focus areas, one of the large focus areas that we can all focus on. Because they use almost all of our requirements. We do biobitumen also, just for your information. Bitumen and biobitumen we do. Due to lack of availability of biobitumen continuously, we do bitumen, but slowly bitumen and biobitumen is also what we are doing. So infrastructure sector is a very major sector because it consumes a lot of biodiesel. It consumes a lot of diesel. In highways, they use it even for the heating applications. They all have a lot of vehicles, both in terms of delivery and for crushers. So they consume a lot of diesel. So they're a tremendous market for biodiesel. They have a lot of heating applications. So they are a tremendous consumption for bio-LDO and bio-FO. And bitumen, because basically your tar which is put for roads is basically called bitumen, and biobitumen by itself it can replace the entire tar. It is both plastic based and veg based biobitumens are there, but due to availability issues we also help them with normal bitumens because it's a very critical sector. Once you take supply, you have to supply. So huge volumes, and during seasons, believe me, in the entire liquid biofuels or any other of our SKUs, this is the only sector which can compete with solid biofuels in terms of volume uptake. Because consumptions of bitumen can range from anywhere between 100 to 1,000 tons to 2,000 tons a month. Their consumptions for bio-LDO and biofuel oil, or whatever we could call it, bio-LDO, would consume from anywhere between, again, as I said, basically 50 to 60 tons to 500 tons a month. And the diesel consumption is also almost close to 100 to 200 tons a month. So it's a huge market. So that's why infrastructure sector is one of the biggest sectors for liquid biofuels and will play a very key role in our entire gamut of this thing as an industry. Transport sector is another major buyer for biodiesel B100, although not as much for bio-LDO or biofuel oil yet. But plastic-based biofuel oil, once it comes and becomes more available when it's refined up to diesel, it's called biofuel oil. Then that will also become a major market for that. But currently, the transport sector is a very big market for biodiesel, both MSME transports and large corporate transport. There are challenges. It's not going to be as easy as the infrastructure sector, because they are much more dependent on their vehicles. Their awareness levels are low on biodiesel. So they are much more hesitant to switch to a biodiesel. And generally they don't prefer blending and using and all that, because for them it's very comfortable going to a diesel bunk, hitting diesel and going. You tell them to, blend it and use it. They're not generally very comfortable. Some of them are, because of their huge costs of diesel, huge consumption of diesel. But most of them are not. Forgings and castings and generally steel and steel forming industries are another major consumers of still a major consumers for liquid biofuels. Many of them still continue to consume FO, furnace oil, LDO or biodiesel for their heating applications because as Atul pointed out, they have high pressure heating applications and sometimes high temperature with high stability, ensuring that they need liquid fuels in it and can't use solid fuels. So they continue to use liquid fuel. It's a major market. Marine and fishing sector is another general low-hanging fruit, but it is a low-hanging fruit like an infrastructure sector because it's a very niche sector in very small areas like Mangalore, Goa. I think there are a couple of belts near Mumbai. Then in south, if you say Calicut, Cochin, in Tamil Nadu you would say Tuticorin and stuff. So these are belts where they are in belts, they are in very clusters, and they consume huge amount of diesel in their applications, and their vehicles are more rugged. They are not microprocessor controlled. They can use biodiesel 100% in their applications, but they are more risk averse and they are more less in awareness. So they are hesitant to switch to any fuel. From a cost perspective, they are inclined to switching, but from an awareness point of view and a risk averse point of view, they are hesitant to switch. But that is a very big market because they consume huge amount of diesel on a daily basis. You will be surprised that many of these small fishing companies or fishing boat runners consume as much diesel as some of the medium or large transporters. So that's the amount of fuel that they consume, and their vehicles can easily accept biodiesel also. But it is understandable. They go into the middle of the ocean for fishing. If any issue comes to their vehicle, they are stranded. Unlike a truck, even if it gets stranded on a road, it can get easy support. But a marine or a fishing boat, if it goes middle of the ocean and gets stuck, they're stranded for a very long time and in deep trouble, right? So that's the reason why they are very hesitant. They don't switch to a biodiesel very easily. But we get a lot of inquiry from them. We've done a lot of trials. We've supplied to that sector. Many of them been happy also. But I'm just telling you the challenges in that sector also. Steel industry and steel forming industry, as I explained earlier. More and more nowadays, cement industry, paper industry, pharma industry and all have moved towards the solid biofuels. Earlier, there used to be major sectors and major consumers for various types of liquid fuels like LDO, FO, diesel, but many of them have moved towards primarily FO. They have all moved towards, solid biofuels and loose biomass. So that tire industry, power captive plant, sugar industry, that entire belt is kind of moved towards. So currently liquid biofuels will be primarily playing among infrastructure sector, transport sector, steel and metal forming sector and marine fishing sector. Yeah, those will be the primary sector. The advantage about liquid biofuels is the value is huge. Look, being a marketplace, we typically look at GMV, right? So all of you, I'm sure if you're from, it's called gross merchandise value. GMV is very important. Although our revenue is only a transaction commission that happens during the transaction. The price, the transaction value, that is the price of the product that is getting transacted, is an important metric for us. It's an important financial metric and a target for us. We call it GMV. For example, if we are selling 1 ton of briquette, okay, assuming the price is 7,000 rupees per ton, okay, we are making only 200 rupees per ton in that, which is our commission. Okay, typically between 100 to 200 rupees per ton. Okay, based on the buyer, based on our discounts and stuff. Okay, so the revenue for us is 100 to 200 rupees per ton, but the GMV for us is 7,000 rupees per ton. So solid biofuels will be our primary volume driver. In fact, the transaction volume for us will be biggest from solid biofuels and loose biomass. Because Atul and Mahesh and anybody in the solid biofuel background will know it's not a big challenge to sell even 1,000 to 2,000 tons per day of solid biofuels across Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. If you put all these states, 1,000, 2,000 tons per day is not a challenge. Correct, Atul?
Yes, definitely.
Right? But in terms of value, this will translate to only 7,000 rupees per ton. And when you take 1,000 tons, that's around 70 lakhs.
Correct.
Right? So that will translate to 70 lakhs. So by doing even 1,000 tons a day, our GMV would be at the most 70 lakhs. Right? Now, so liquid biofuels will be our value driver. It will be our GMV driver. It will not be the transaction volume driver, because it's almost impossible to sell 1,000 tons per day of LDO or biodiesel or BioFO per day. Okay. Typically, if we are able to hit, during the season, if we are able to hit 100 to 200 tons per day, good volume. Okay. So, but just with 200 tons per day, so typically price would be 45,000 rupees a ton. So, with just 200 tons, we've hit 90 lakhs.
Correct.
Right?
So that's our revenue.
Come again, Atul?
That is our revenue.
Yeah. So that's our GMV. Yeah. Even revenue is much more in that. So we make almost 500 rupees a ton to 400 to 500 rupees a ton in liquid fuels. So, even from a revenue point of view, by selling 1,000 tons a day of solid biofuels, we'll probably make 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees, right? But by just selling 100 to 200 tons of bio LDO a day, we'll be making close to 10 lakh rupees.
Correct.
Right. So that's why that's our value driver. That's our value driver. Solid biofuels is our volume driver. Okay. So that's why it is also an important spoke in our wheel. It will be continue to remain a very important spoke of our wheel, because it will be our value, GMV and revenue driver, while solid biofuels will be our volume and profitability driver. Okay. So now let me take you to the easy access points for your market. It's easy, as I said, in the LDO markets, it's not difficult to reach out to the Road Contractors Association, the Quarry and Infrastructure Association. These associations exist across all major cities: Pune, Mumbai, Nagpur, Akola, Ahmedabad, Surat, Anand, Baroda, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mysore. So every major city has its own set of contractors, has its own set of quarries, and so they have their own associations. Approaching those associations easily connects you to a large chunk of buyers for this particular product. And similarly, even from a lorry owners association, lorry owners association, every city has its own lorry owners association, bus owners association, its own CII chapter, its own industry chapter, and its own small scale industries, industrial estates. So where foundries, casting, steel companies are typically inside industrial estates, because they are high polluting and high emitting. So these associations and these clusters, if you can target, it becomes easier to access the market immediately for liquid biofuels. If you are able to connect to lorry association, you easily connect to a lot of transporters. You can connect to large transport logistics companies like Gati or aggregators like Let's Transport. They're already there on a platform. And even in the infrastructure, it's very easy, because they are a very closed cluster. In fact, across India, if you see, the infrastructure sector is a very closed cluster. They are very much in connection to each other because they all share, the gravel, the various what they call mixtures for your road construction and construction are all bought from the same sources. They have very close association with each other. That's why these associations are very strong in this infrastructure sector. So the moment you're able to crack two big people, two reputed people, it's an easy cluster effect. It's an easy, cascading effect that we can create to all of them in that region. So that's why the infrastructure sector becomes very interesting. Similarly, the industrial estates and the industry chapters like CII or in MIDCs in Maharashtra, GIDCs in Gujarat, SIPCOTs in Tamil Nadu, KSIDCs in Karnataka, all of these become very, very easy because a lot of foundries, forgings, castings and steel companies operate out of these people. So, and when you're able to approach these associations, you get an access to a larger base. Now, from a sourcing point of view, also it's very easy. Okay, so that's why I've not put many, because India has still very less number of biodiesel manufacturers, very less number of tire oil manufacturers, very less number of plastic oil manufacturers. As I said, almost 60% of them are in Maharashtra, clearly. Around 20% of them are between Karnataka and Telangana. Okay, so together they are like 80%, and 10% are in Gujarat, and the rest of the 10% are across the rest of the places. So that's how easy it is to access these liquid biofuel manufacturers. And the advantage in liquid biofuels, unlike solid biofuels, I'll tell you with an example is, in solid biofuels, you typically cannot transport long distance because it becomes unviable. Correct, Atul? Correct, Mahesh?
Correct.
Typically, you should get it between less than 200 kilometers, ideally. Okay, at the max, you might stretch it to 300 kilometers, but definitely not more than that. But typically between less than 200 kilometers, because it's a 7,000 rupees per ton material. Okay, there is no point in you spending 2,000 rupees per ton or 3,000 rupees per ton transporting it.
Correct.
Because the manufacturer doesn't make money, the consumer doesn't benefit, only the transporter makes money out of it. Right? So solid biofuels, you generally, if you have a demand in say Pune, you have to be around 200 kilometers of Pune. If you have demand in Chennai, you have to be somewhere between 200 to 250 kilometers around of Chennai. Similarly in Bangalore. Okay, that's a challenge. That's what I think Omkar, I think tomorrow today evening there's a session where Atul will be addressing you all and giving you complete details of all of this. So what happens is it has to be close to that. So you have to arrange sourcing becomes very tight. You have to get that source around that area to become economically viable. In liquid biofuels, you don't have that challenge. I can supply bio-LDO from Maharashtra to Tamil Nadu because the cost of the product is 45,000 rupees a ton. Okay, me spending 5,000 rupees per ton on transport is accepted by the buyer. Okay, so similarly, biodiesel is 75,000 rupees a ton. So me spending another 5,000, 6,000 rupees per ton is less than 10% for him. He's perfectly okay with it.
Correct.
So that challenge is not there. So even though a lot of tire oil manufacturers are in Hyderabad, a lot of plastic oil manufacturers are in Maharashtra and Karnataka, and some of them in Gujarat, it is possible, even if I have a demand in Karnataka, I can supply it from Maharashtra if required. If I have a supply requirement in Kerala or Tamil Nadu, I still can take it from Karnataka or Hyderabad or even Maharashtra for that matter. Today, my greatest supply of it comes from Maharashtra. So the Kopoli belt is a Kopoli, Akola. From Kopoli to Akola, there are huge number of plastic oil manufacturers.
Correct.
So, that's so that advantage is also there in liquid biofuel. So it's easy sourcing. And, practically there are two advantages that you will have is me being from that sector, I practically know all of them because only that much amount of manufacturers are there. There are totally all of them put together less than 50, 60 manufacturers. Okay. And I practically know all of them. I know at least 50% of them very closely. So, supply is not an issue so far in that particular sector. Sourcing of raw materials for them is an issue. That's where I'm having a challenge. Sourcing of raw materials for them, the vegetable oil waste, the used cooking oil, the plastic waste, because that sector is slightly different for us. That's another big thing that, that happens through biofuel as a platform. So when I say biofuel.com, our value that we are bringing is not only in the sales of fuel that we are doing for them. We are also supplying them raw materials. That is the biggest challenge that everybody is facing. Atul and Mahesh will know every briquette manufacturer's biggest headache is sourcing raw materials. Similarly, every plastic oil and rubber tire oil manufacturers and biodiesel manufacturers' biggest headache is sourcing his raw materials. And as a platform, we are helping them with that also. And helping them with the sale of the product. Okay, so while discussing this, we'll cover about when we discuss waste. There also the same problem that you have with biomass will be there. You have to source it in a close range. Otherwise, it becomes economically viable. There is no point in buying a 10 rupee per kg or a 5 rupee per kg material and transporting it for 4,000 rupees a ton, which is another 4 rupees per kg. So you have to again be close by. Only then it becomes viable.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much I've covered everything that that I was looking to cover today. So any discussion that any of you want, I am completely open. You can feel free to throw your questions. We can have a general discussion about the market, about the industries or anything. Feel free.
See, there are multiple boilers running on LDO currently. The Thermax is having the technology. There are n number of boilers running in market where they are using this LDO. And I believe we have a technical comparison and commercial comparison between LDO and bio LDO.
Yeah. We can help with all of that. It'll be great to get those lists and those client lists and access, because in that we have a good supply. We can immediately start plugging in. We can give them comparisons. We can give them quality tests for every load also if required.
And it is very easily to switch on bio LDO.
Yeah, because it's only a heating application. There is no engine application required here. And as I was explaining to you, the plastic-based bio LDO, tire-based bio LDO have much better calorific value and viscosity than the LDO supplied by IOC BPCL.
Okay, great.
So, it's a superior fuel also.
Yes, there is a huge demand for this LDO or bio LDO. We should deliberately focus on those customers who are using LDO or solid biofuel.
Yeah. As I said, these two that we covered yesterday and today, solid biomass and biofuel will be our volume driver. Because as a company, when I discuss the ABP on Monday, I will give more clarity on that. But three very important parameters that we look into is transaction volume, which is very important being a platform. Look, transaction volume makes two impacts. Okay, it tells us how much we are able to sell, as a platform, but it also tells us how much social impact we are doing. How many people and how much volume from fossil fuels we are changing to a biofuel. So that's why this transaction volume is a very key parameter for us. And in that, solid biofuels and loose biomass will be a very critical aspect for us. Similarly, because we are in a business, and I said we are not only a sustainable and environmentally conscious startup, we are also a high growth startup. So as a high growth startup, revenue and GMV also become very important for us. And that will primarily come from liquid biofuel. Liquid biofuels will be pushing our GMV and revenue, while solid biofuels and loose biomass will push our transaction volume. So that's why these two will be the key pillars of strength, at least for the next 1 to 2 years. Okay. After 2 years, you will see bio-CNG and green hydrogen playing a very major role, because we believe over the next 3 years, India will move towards the gas-based economy. Okay. From a solid liquid fuel-based economy, India will move towards the gas-based economy. So in the next 3 years, you will see these playing the most important role. After 3 years, we believe, bio-CNG and green hydrogen will play a very major role.
Right.
And the advantage that we give is we are already into all of this.
Yes, that's
Okay. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to primarily cover today. Afternoon session, I might not be there. I'm just taking a leave. I would have loved to listen to Atul. I myself was one who wanted that session and wanted my whole team. But unfortunately, the funeral is at 4:35, so I'll be going there. So I have to travel towards Kerala. The funeral is in Kerala, so I'll be traveling towards Kerala today afternoon. So afternoon session, I will be missing it. But yeah, I hope all of you are able to learn a lot from Mahesh, Atul, and Prasad will also be giving you a tech pitch and tech demo of the platform. So you guys can also learn as much as about the platform, have your queries, questions. Anything you're not able to address tomorrow I'll be back by tonight. So tomorrow we can have a session and we can answer all of that also.
right.
Okay?
Okay, fine.
Right? Thanks a lot, all of you. So yeah,
Thank you.
will not be able to join you today.
No problem.
Okay?
We'll take care.
Take care.
We'll take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Sure.